Hello everyone. Today, we'll see how Score ERP helps streamline the entire manufacturing process, from raw material planning and production costing to manufacturing execution and batch management. Let's get started. Before beginning production, we have already created the necessary items in the inventory. These include both finished products and raw materials such as hangers, coated hangers, hanger scrap, and 5.5mm wire. The first step in the manufacturing process is creating a bill of materials. For this example, we'll create for manufacturing hangers using 5.5mm wire. We select the finished product and define the production quantity. Next, we add the required raw materials. In this case, we'll use 2 tons of 5.5mm wire to manufacture the required quantity. Let's assume we want to produce 50 boxes of hangers. Now we move to operations. Here we define the manufacturing process and assign it to a workstation. For this example, we'll create a hanger making operation and assign it to the hanger making machine workstation. We can specify the operating time, let's say 200 minutes, and also define the hourly operating cost. We can even configure production scrap generated during the process. Operating cost. Once these details are entered, Score ERP automatically calculates the raw material cost, scrap value, operating cost, and total manufacturing cost, giving complete visibility into production expenses before manufacturing even begins. After reviewing the details, we save and submit. Production can start in 2 ways. We can either create a work order directly or use a production plan to schedule and manage manufacturing activities in advance. Production planning also supports subcontracting workflows where raw materials are provided to external vendors and finished goods are received back after processing. For this demonstration, we'll proceed with a direct work order. We create a work order and enter the manufacturing quantity. In this example, we'll produce 50 units. Score ERP automatically pulls all required information, including finished goods, raw materials, required quantities, and manufacturing operations. Next, we configure the warehouses. This includes the finished goods warehouse, the work in progress warehouse, and the scrap warehouse. We can also record process loss if any material loss is expected during production. After saving the work order, we're ready to begin manufacturing. To start production, we simply click Start Work Order. Now that the work order has been created, the next step is to transfer the required raw materials for manufacturing. To do this, we create a stock entry for material transfer to manufacturing. This transfers the required raw materials from inventory into the production process. Once the stock entry is created, we move to the item details section. Here, Score ERP provides the ability to select the exact batch of raw material that will be used for manufacturing. In this example, we need 2 tons of 5.5mm wire. The system allows us to check which batch contains the required quantity. By viewing the available batches, we can identify the batch that has the full 2 tons available for production. We can also verify which warehouse the stock is currently stored in. In this case, the material is available in the work-in-progress warehouse. After selecting the appropriate batch and confirming the warehouse details, we simply save and submit the stock entry. At this point, the raw materials have been allocated and production officially begins. Now that manufacturing is in progress, we can start creating batches for the finished goods. For example, we may create the first batch for 10 boxes of hangers. As soon as the batch is created, Score ERP automatically generates a unique batch number. The system also includes a built-in print function, allowing batch labels to be generated and printed instantly with a single click. Depending on the company's workflow, batches can either be created during production or after production is completed. For this example, we create the first batch during production and leave the remaining quantity to be assigned later. Once manufacturing is completed, we proceed to finish the work order. The system asks for the quantity manufactured, and we enter 50 units. Score ERP then creates the manufacturing stock entry, recording the raw materials consumed, the finished goods produced, and any scrap generated during the manufacturing process. At this stage, we can continue assigning the remaining finished goods into additional batches. For example, we can create another batch for 20 boxes and a further batch for the remaining 20 boxes. Each batch receives its own automatically generated batch number, ensuring complete traceability and inventory control. Whenever required, batch labels can be printed directly from the batch record. Simply click the print option, and the system generates the batch label automatically. After all batches have been assigned, we save and submit the manufacturing entry. We can now view the finished hanger inventory and see all batches that have been created. In this example, the production quantity has been distributed across multiple batches, each showing its available stock quantity. This provides complete visibility into manufactured inventory, batch availability, and stock movement throughout the production process. And with that, the manufacturing cycle is complete. This is how Score ERP simplifies manufacturing operations by combining production planning, material tracking, batch management, and inventory control within a single integrated system. Now that we've completed the manufacturing process, let's look at how Score ERP helps manage workstations and machine downtime. First, we'll create a workstation type. A workstation type is used to group similar machines together and define their operating costs. For this example, we'll create a workstation type called Automatic Packaging Machine. Here we can define the various costs associated with the machine, including operating costs, consumable costs, and labor costs. These costs can later be used for production costing and performance analysis. Once the details are entered, we save the workstation type. Now let's assume we have multiple automatic packaging machines in our factory. The workstation type defines the category, but each physical machine is created as a separate workstation. So next, we create an individual workstation. For example, Packaging Machine 1. We select the workstation type, which is Automatic Packaging Machine, and save it. If we have additional machines, such as Packaging Machine 2 or Packaging Machine 3, we simply create additional workstations under the same workstation type. This gives us complete visibility and control over each machine individually, while still grouping them under a common category. Now let's see how Score ERP handles machine downtime. In real manufacturing environments, machines may occasionally experience maintenance requirements, breakdowns, or unexpected issues. To record these situations, we create a workstation downtime entry. We select the workstation that has the issue. For example, let's assume our hanger making machine is experiencing a problem. Next, we select the employee responsible for operating the machine and enter the downtime period by specifying the start and end date and time. The downtime can be recorded for a few hours, an entire day, or even multiple days depending on the situation. We then select the reason for the downtime. Common reasons include power failure, machine malfunction, operator error, or scheduled maintenance. After entering the required information, we save the downtime record. The system now records that the workstation is unavailable during the selected period. We can also update the machine status to indicate that it is under maintenance or currently facing a production issue. This provides clear visibility to the production team and ensures that work is not assigned to machines that are unavailable. Now let's move on to one of the most powerful features in Score ERP manufacturing, complete batch traceability. During manufacturing, we created multiple batches of hangers. If at any point we need to investigate a specific batch, Score ERP allows us to trace its complete history. Let's open one of the hanger batches and view its details. Selecting the batch and opening its record, the system displays the complete manufacturing history associated with that batch. We can immediately see the stock entry that created the batch, the work order used during production, and the quantity that was manufactured. We can then continue tracing further. The system shows us the manufacturing stock entry, the work order, and the bill of materials associated with the production process. The system shows us exactly which raw material batch was consumed during production. In this case, we can identify the specific batch of 5.5 mm wire that was used to manufacture the hanger batch. By selecting Continue Trace, we can move even further back into the supply chain. Now we can see where the wire originated from and which batch of raw material was used before it entered production. Continuing the trace again allows us to identify the purchase receipt through which the material was received. The system also shows the supplier who supplied that material, giving us complete visibility all the way back to the original purchase transaction. This means that within just a few clicks, we can trace a finished product batch back through the manufacturing process, identify the raw materials consumed, review the production records, and even determine which supplier originally provided the material. This level of traceability is extremely valuable for quality control, compliance requirements, audits, customer inquiries, and production investigations. With complete visibility from supplier to finished product, manufacturers can maintain better control over their operations and respond quickly whenever detailed product history is required. And that's how Score ERP helps manufacturers manage workstations, monitor machine downtime, and achieve complete end-to-end batch traceability throughout the production lifecycle. Thank you for watching the Score ERP manufacturing demonstration.